Hello, all. I'm inspired today. It's a beautiful day, and I want to talk to you about knife throwing. So, knife throwing for combat is very, very different, and very few people actually do it in any meaningful way. Most people have just sort of followed along how to stick a knife, which is not the same thing, it's not as important. There's evidence of this. I mean, for example, to their credit, if you look at the Sayak Kali guys, when they're throwing knives, a lot of times they seem to understand that the impact of a sharp piece of metal, even if it's not sharp, and you're throwing it because of the weight, can be considerable. I don't necessarily have to stick the knife, okay? It can be as a diversion. However, when we practice throwing and putting the knife in to the target, you're dealing with a very different scenario. You're dealing with a distance of 10 feet or less, okay? Absolutely. You have no business throwing a knife past 10 feet to try to stick it in somebody, okay? You're dealing with a moving target. I'm going to make a case that ultimate taijutsu, the best taijutsu, comes with certain practices when you're using bladed weapons, which is why we like them. And you have to have incredibly good taijutsu to throw a knife properly with respect to using basic taijutsu positioning. I throw from each of the elements has a throw. Wind, water, fire, void. Okay? Earth as well. Earth, water, wind, fire, void. Okay? They're not necessarily related, but what they do is they give you a context for each throw. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do this video is I'm going to show you how to use taijutsu to throw a knife properly. And I'm only throwing from 10 feet or less. Okay? That's the target range at which I'm effective. Okay, first principle is, just like with taijutsu, you want to move the body, not so much the arms or legs. You want to throw the knife with your body. Okay? And you want to throw it actively as you're cutting. Okay? So, for example, let's take a suinokata type throw, where you're coming this way, okay? 1, 2, okay? You're using your shoulder rotation, okay, in order to do that throw. 1, 2. Now, what's important here is to get under your knife as you're throwing, okay? So, for example, if I'm here and I want to stick it, this is actually very easy distance, but I'm here, okay, I'm coming back, so I'm cutting with the knife from here. When I come here, my weight is under. As I release, my weight is forwards, and I'm not trying to do too much here. I'm sinking and just letting the knife glide. And when I throw, if I do have to do this, it's seldom. I'm throwing just as I'm cutting, because I do not want to make any adjustment. Don't even talk to me about throwing with a point first, okay? I'm talking about if I'm here fighting with somebody, boom, there's the throw, okay? No telegraph, bam, okay? So let's watch that throw. Here, okay? I'm just here, under, and turning, like such, okay? If I want to right the blade and I want to make sure it's going into the target, okay, and I feel a little funny with it, I turn my hand. That forces me to not release the knife early. So I'm here, again, we're doing that suinokata throw, boom, okay, I'm back here, okay, I feel a little funny, this doesn't look like it'll quite work, I turn my hand around. Now when I come forwards, okay, whoops. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway. Yes, that hit the target. That's what that was. Okay, so you have that to modify in circumstance, okay? Now, the next one is when you're throwing with a wind type, okay? So funokata, okay? Now you're not using the Kihon for this, I mean the Sanshin for this, but this is basically a wind movement. You're here, okay? This is a great throw because it gives you a lot of opportunity to use momentum, okay? But the same principles apply. You have to resist the temptation to use the arm to throw. Okay, so I'm here. It's going to be here. I'm going to be here. I'm just going to move the body in, and I can throw from any position. Okay? Boom, boom. The main thing is I don't go here like I'm going to throw the knife. I keep it at the distance that I'm fighting with, and I let the body, boom, do the work. Okay? As much as possible when I'm training. You may come up a little bit to throw the knife. You might sink under to throw the knife. Okay, in a real situation. Boom. But you want to practice not to telegraph. And the same trick applies with this and with this. You're holding it like you're cutting, okay? And I'm simply using my body's momentum. Okay? Boom, okay? Boom, 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 okay? I'm stepping in as I throw. Okay, so that's wind. And again, watch the dynamics. When I'm here, I'm getting under the knife and just releasing at the last point. Okay, and letting the body do the work. Okay, never trying to do it by throwing the knife. Okay, the next one takes a little bit more skill, but we'll call it a fire throw. You're here and you're in this position defending. You're just from here. Pow. Okay, the trick here is to really get your body under the knife. Okay, because the temptation is going to be to try to throw it like a dart. What you want to do is when you're here, instead of trying to release it out this way, which really has no power, you want to sink. And as you sink, turn and extend. Okay? And again, I'm doing that all with my body. Pow. 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 So we're here, okay? Coming up, making sure this is capturing it, okay? Boom, we're here, and pow, okay? Here. Whoops. Those are your most basic throws, okay, that you want to practice. The other variation is the fire, we'll call it, or earth. But here, coming this side, and it works just like this. You're in a position where you're fighting, and now you've come here. Maybe you want to take your next knife and throw. You have to throw this way, okay? Same principle. You come in like you're doing kanokata. Boom, okay? Boom, okay? So you're here, and usually I do this as a follow-up because there's no reason to throw from this side, except if you have moved after you've thrown the knife or in an evolving situation have been misplaced. So boom, around here, okay, just this side. And again, if you notice, I'm getting under the knife, okay? And the release is just as though I'm doing a shuto, letting the knife just come out in its natural projection with a little bit of coaxing with the finger if need be, or with this knuckle, okay? Because just like you'd be holding it, if I'm cutting you, boom, boom, I want to be able to throw the same way, okay? So, I'll go over each of these real quick. Whoops. Oh my God, I've had this on backwards all this time. I hope it, you might have to turn your phone over for half of this video. Sorry, guys. It's taijutsu. Start out one, okay? Gradually, as you get better, learn that this throw is done because if you have somebody on the side, okay? So for example, you're over there and you see my target here, and I want to take care of throwing at this target, okay? Instead of coming here and turning and doing this, if I understand this, I can simply come up here and release here, okay? So it doesn't even, you don't even see it. Here, boom, and there's the throw. It's just doing this from the angle. So here, and again, I'm just taking my weight, boom, dropping it. Okay? Because you might have more than one person. That would be a good reason why you'd want to throw a knife in the first place, okay? So that is this throw. You can then do this throw. Okay? You can consider this earth, Chino Kata, the last one, just straight down here, okay? And that is, if you're up here, just to throw here, okay? And that can be modified to this, where you are using this position to right your arm when you throw, okay? Like such, okay? And finally, you have wind, where you're just using your momentum, okay? Coming in, bam. And again, if you notice, I'm not trying to make this prominent. I'm not sticking this up here. I'm trying to make the throw happen with this, with my taijutsu, so that the person doesn't see the arm, right? Pow, there's the throw. If I have to throw it from here, there's the throw, okay? I don't throw underarm. I don't find any use for it, okay? So, Sueno Kata, Hino Kata, Chino Kata, okay? Funo Kata, okay? And just call it that modification. The void, okay? Kano Kata, anyway, the fifth, the void, I always forget. Chi. Okay? Keep those in mind, and this is a good way to practice your taijutsu. And when you throw 10 feet or so, okay? Get accurate and get good with your body dynamics so that you can do them under pressure, okay? You're not going to be able to hit somebody 20 feet out if you're in an adrenaline situation, an evolving conflict, and they're moving and you're moving, okay? But if you have more than one knife in a conflict and you need to get an advantage on somebody very quickly, you can hit somebody 10 feet or less if you practice and use your taijutsu properly.